Hello folks, welcome back to the Way to Native Chronicles. For most of us who love the outdoors, whether it's hunting, fishing, or shooting, politics isn't something we want to get involved in. We'd rather be in the wilderness, on the range, or out in the field. But the truth is, politics has come for us. Every new year, new laws and regulations make it harder to own firearms or even practice the skills that have been passed down for generations. That's why outdoorsmen, hunters, and firearms owners are among the most politically engaged people out there, because when politicians target our way of life, we don't have the luxury of staying silent. For this reason, in this video, we're delving into politics today because the outcome of the next election in Canada could very well be the most consequential one of our lifetimes. Before we dive into today's topic, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to click like and subscribe to help support the channel. If you want to go the extra mile, there's a super thanks button right below, and if you'd like to buy me a coffee, there's a link in the description below. Every bit of support helps keep these conversations going. Now, let's get into it. For decades, Alberta has been the economic engine of Canada, largely thanks to our energy sector. We pull our weight, paying billions into equalization payments, only to watch Ottawa turn around and regulate our industries into the ground. Meanwhile, provinces that benefit from our wealth push for policies that cripple our ability to make a living. And it doesn't stop at our energy sector. The federal government has been relentless in their attack on legal, responsible firearms owners. From their sweeping bans on commonly used hunting and sporting rifles to their attempts at confiscation disguised as buybacks, it's clear they have no interest in dealing with actual crime. Instead, they're targeting us for cheap political gain. Here's the reality. The vast majority of gun crimes in this country come from illegally smuggled firearms, not from responsible Canadian gun owners. Yet, instead of cracking down on criminals, Ottawa chooses to disarm the very people who respect the law. And this is what Albertans get fired up about. When a government disregards facts, punishes law-abiding citizens, and kneecaps an entire industry, people start asking the big question: is this really a country that represents us? Albertans have always been independent-minded, and more I hear people saying that maybe it's time we seriously consider going our own way. Not as a knee-jerk reaction, but as a real, thought-out solution to a government that clearly does not have our best interests at heart. And let's be honest, how much of a say do you think Albertans really have in how this country is run? Election after election, we watch the overwhelming population centers in Ontario and Quebec decide who will govern us. No matter how we vote, the outcome is already determined before our ballots are even counted. How can we expect fair representation in a system that ensures we'll always be outnumbered? Let's talk about another major issue. Alberta is landlocked. We sit on some of the richest natural resources in the world, yet we're blocked from getting our products to market. Federal policies, environmental opposition, and interprovincial trade barriers have prevented Alberta from building the infrastructure we need to export our oil and gas freely. Even within Canada, provinces like Quebec refuse to allow pipelines that would transport Alberta's energy eastward, all while benefiting from equalization payments funded by Alberta's energy revenues. Meanwhile, we're forced to sell our resources at a discount due to a lack of access to global markets. Imagine how much more wealth Alberta could generate if we had the freedom to move our products where they are needed. And it's not just about economics. This government is committed to an extreme, woke ideology that Albertans find both dangerous and off-putting. We're talking about inordinately high levels of immigration and forced multiculturalism that dilute traditional Canadian values. We see diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI standards, being imposed on our workplaces, destroying merit-based advancement, Critical race theory is being pushed in our schools, teaching our children to see everything through the lens of division and resentment. Transgender activism is being promoted in ways that threaten our children's well-being, and overall we see a growing anti-family approach in federal policies. These are not the values that built Alberta. This province was built on hard work, independence, and a deep respect for family and tradition. Yet under this federal government, we are being forced into cultural and political molds that go against everything we stand for. So what are Alberta's real choices? If we're serious about separating, we have three main paths. One, we can strike out on our own, building an independent nation with our own economy, government, and laws. That would give us full control over our energy resources and the ability to create policies that align with our values. But independence comes with many challenges. Negotiating trade deals, securing borders, and managing defense. The second path, joining the United States. Some Albertans argue that we have more in common with Montana and Texas than we do with Toronto and Montreal. The U.S. has strong protections for gun rights, a more energy-friendly government, and a powerful economy. But at the same time, we'd be giving up a unique Canadian identity and placing our fate in a country with its own political struggles. And finally, the third, perhaps most viable option, to head down the path of economic autonomy rather than outright independence. If Alberta separatists want to push for economic autonomy without outright secession, they can follow a stepping stone strategy to reduce federal control while strengthening Alberta's independence. If you're interested, here are the key steps they could take. Step number 1, exit the Canada Pension Plan and create an Alberta pension plan. Why? Alberta contributes far more to CPP than it receives in benefits. A provincial pension would let Alberta keep billions of dollars within the province. Quebec already runs its own pension plan, the QPP, setting a legal precedent for this. Challenges to this? Well, some Albertans may fear their pensions would be less secure under an Alberta-run system, and the federal government could resist Alberta withdrawing its proportionate share of CPP assets. Step number 2, replace the RCMP with an Alberta provincial police force. Why? Well, a provincial police force could give Alberta full control over law enforcement policies rather than relying on RCMP officers controlled by Ottawa. Ontario and Quebec have already obtained their own police forces, the OPP and the SQ, proving that this is legally feasible. Alberta would gain more control over gun laws and rural policing, two key separatist concerns. Challenges to this approach, or to this step, would be that it's expensive to set up. Estimates range from $200 million to $500 million annually. Some rural communities prefer the RCMP due to cost sharing with Ottawa. Step 3, take over provincial tax collection from Ottawa. Why? Well, Quebec already collects its own income taxes while other provinces let the federal government do it. If Alberta controlled tax collection, it could use federal tax revenue as leverage in negotiation with Ottawa. Challenges to this would be that businesses would have to file separate federal and provincial tax returns, increasing administrative costs. Step number 4, gain control over immigration. Why? Alberta could attract skilled workers tailored to its economic needs, for example, oil and gas workers, rather than following Ottawa's national quotas. Quebec already has special immigration deals allowing it to set up its own policies. Challenges to this would be, well, Ottawa might resist Alberta demanding the same deal as Quebec, of course. Step number 5, push to end equalization payments. Why? Well, Alberta sends billions more to Ottawa than it gets back. Equalization payments benefit provinces like Quebec but drain Alberta's economy. A 2021 referendum in Alberta saw 61.7% of the population vote to remove equalization from the Constitution. Challenges to this? Well, Equalization is enshrined in the Constitution Act of 1982, meaning Ottawa and the other provinces would have to agree to remove it. Most provinces benefit from the equalization and would oppose Alberta's demand. Step number 6, build pipelines and export energy without Ottawa's approval. Why? Well, Ottawa has blocked or delayed major pipeline projects like Energy East and Northern Gateway. Alberta could expand its own refining capacity and export oil directly to markets outside of Canada. Challenges to this? Well, pipeline projects still require federal environmental approvals. Plus, Indigenous groups and environmental activists could block projects in court. Step 7, strengthen trade ties with the U.S. and bypass Ottawa. Why? The U.S. is Alberta's largest trade partner. Building direct trade agreements could weaken Alberta's dependence on Ottawa. Alberta could push for a separate trade office in Washington, D.C., like Quebec has. Challenges to this are that foreign trade is a federal jurisdiction, so Alberta would have to work around legal barriers. So to sum up, is Alberta's independence a realistic option? Perhaps yes, but it would be extremely difficult and would require a long-term political movement. Quebec is the legal precedent, but Alberta lacks the argument of its cultural distinctiveness. The best path forward may be full autonomy at first, then gradual independence if public support grows. Now, I'm not saying Alberta should separate tomorrow, but I am saying that Ottawa has left us with fewer and fewer reasons to stay. When the people of a province feel abandoned, vilified, and taken for granted, how long before they decide enough is enough? And if we do reach that point, which path would be best to follow? So here's my question to you. Where do you stand? Should Alberta go it alone? Should we consider becoming part of the US? Do you still believe Canada can change? Let me know in the comments, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real talk from the heart of Alberta. And remember, if you'd like to support this channel, you can hit that super thanks button or check out the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. This was from the Way to Native Chronicles. Thanks for watching, and keep your focus on the front sight. See ya. Did you like this video? If you did, I think you're gonna like this one right over here. So check it out. And I appreciate your subscribing if you haven't done so already. Remember to do that while you're watching this next video. Click like, it all helps us out for this channel. Catch you next time.